Barcelona is home to one of the world's most famous sporting clubs. It's also a city that's hosted the Olympics. Put those two things together and you can be pretty sure that it's going to have plenty of stadiums and arenas for that matter. So here they are. Estadio Municipal de la Nova Creu Alta. Oddly enough, this is one of two stadiums in the city with a word that means new in its title, both of which are well over 50 years old. They called it the Nova Creu Alta because it replaced their old stadium that went by the same name, minus the Nova. However, the name that the ground is colloquially known as is the Quarry. Surprisingly, that's not because it was built on the side of a quarry. It's just that the stands were built on top of hills of stone that were trucked in from a quarry. So it sort of looked like a quarry when it was getting built. Stagefront Stadium. The stadium's name is in English. Does that have anything to do with the fact that the flag of Barcelona has a couple of English flags or St. George crosses on it? No, it doesn't. I think England and Barcelona are just both big fans of Georgie Boy, as are the people of Genoa seemingly. Anyway, whilst there might be two clubs that currently call this place home, the colour scheme and indeed the writing on the seats does give away the fact that this is really RCD Espanyol's house. It was designed for them and, they do literally own it. It is their house. Parc Esportiu Llobregat. This arena next door is part of a sports park where I believe people pay a subscription fee to use the facilities, including that big pool outside. I don't think much in the way of professional sport goes on here, but I thought it was worth a mention. Pavelló Girona Fontejol. This is a highly praised work of architecture, largely due to that distinctive exterior I'd imagine, although the interior design is unique as well. Up top there is a sort of tile ceiling, with some skylights, which let in light from the sky. The horseshoe seating layout was designed with concerts in mind. One end has retractable seating so that it can accommodate a stage on a Saturday, and seat 1,000 or so basketball fans on a Sunday. Or other days. Camp Nou would have to be one of the most famous buildings in Barcelona. It is after all the biggest stadium in Europe. Although at the moment it's construction workers rather than spectators that visit the ground, as the stadium is currently undergoing a major redevelopment. It's part of a larger project which is expected to cost over 1.5 billion euros. That's about 3 million Bulgarian lev for the Bulgarians watching. As you can see, plenty of roof coverage will be added. And the capacity will be expanded over the 100,000 mark, albeit still 15,000 less than the 120,000 that it could accommodate when it hosted games at the 1982 World Cup. Estadio Johan Cruyff, home to the Barcelona reserves, the youth teams and the women's team, is one of the few stadiums in the world that's named after an overseas player. Only the biggest of legends such as Maradona, Pelé and in this case Johan Cruyff tend to earn that honour. Others might get a stand named after them, just not a whole stadium. It may be small, but the design is pretty impressive. I particularly like all that metallic red metal that you see throughout the stadium. Palau Blaugrana. Blaugrana means blue maroon, which are of course Barcelona's colours. Like their football stadium, this too is set to undergo a renovation. However, it is a relatively minor renovation by comparison. Although the capacity will be increasing by roughly the same as Camp Nou, from 7,500 to 12,500. And as you can see, it will look a whole lot different once complete. So yeah, just disregard my comment about it being a minor renovation. It's gonna be a gran renovación. Estadio Olímpic Luis Companys. This is the temporary home of Barcelona during Camp Nou's renovation. That's going to take a couple of years, so they have invested a small amount in upgrading it to make it more suitable. A much larger redevelopment occurred in the early 90s in preparation for the 1992 Olympics. This was the main stadium used at those games. However, in my opinion, the best aspect to this stadium is one that long predates those Olympics. And that is the grand exterior that wraps its way around the stadium. Absolutely beautiful. There's a bit of an original Wembley vibe to it, although there's just the one proper tower here. Palau Sant Jordi is the largest arena in the city and indeed the country. I have included the Barcelona crest up there because their basketball team does occasionally play here. However, its primary use these days is concerts and events like whatever this is. It does seem like an excellent venue. I love the layout. However, if I had to point out one downside, it's that the center hung video board looks like it belongs at a small arena with a few thousand seats, rather than one this big. No big deal though, some arenas don't have one at all. Stadium Municipal Johan Serrayima. This was actually built on the side of a quarry, yet it doesn't get a quarry-related nickname like the one we first saw. It's primarily used as an athletics venue, although it does host an American football team. To be clear, it's a Spanish team, but they play American football. A Spanish American football team. You can see why it usually gets called gridiron where I'm from. And then you've got the Olympic baseball and softball venues. There's also a swimming pool or two. How are you going? A mini rugby field over here. More swimming pools. One of them is green. Palau de Sports de Granollers. It's not often that we talk about a venue that is used almost exclusively for handball, as is the case here. It hosted handball at the '92 Olympics, and after the event, Club Balonmano Granollers decided to move in. Interesting venue though. What the heck was that? Estadio Olímpic de Terrassa. In the past, there had been one critique to this venue. People said it's a cool stadium, but it needs more dragons. Heeding that advice, the venue is now home to the Barcelona Dragons, another American football team. Other than that, it's a pretty classic Spanish football stadium. It's got a roof, but it's covering just one stand, and I think that's perfectly fine given that the weather in Barcelona is usually pretty good, except for when it's not. Pavelló Olímpic de Badalona. We've seen some spectacular exteriors so far, but this one might take the cake. Well, amongst the arenas it does. The architect was actually awarded one of the EU's most prestigious architecture awards for this design. Inside it's a little more conventional, you know, it looks a lot less like a spaceship. But it's not lacking in technology. Firstly, that video board is probably the size that would have suited Palau Sant Jordi. Also, it's got this guy.
I'm sorry, David. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And here are some courts of the tennis variety, another Olympics remnant. They are clay courts in accordance with Rafael Nadal's royal decree. I thought I'd just give a quick mention to Arenas de Barcelona, a former bull ring which, despite calls for its demolition back in the 80s, has lived on in the form of a shopping/cultural centre. And that's really a win-win for the people of Barcelona, because not only was the beautiful facade preserved, but now the only dead cows that you find here are at the many restaurants this place has to offer. And since we included a building that's no longer a sports venue, how about one that's never been a sports venue? That building over there looks like a beautiful bit of architecture. Let's check that out. It's called Palau Nacional, and it's home to the National Art Museum of Catalonia. But it's also home to this Great Hall, which is almost an arena. I mean, you could set up a basketball court in here. I'm sure they'd be cool with that. There's even an organ, so you could play... Charge. And those were the stadiums and arenas of Barcelona, a surprisingly arena-heavy city. If you're new around here, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.